All right, we have Yolanda Hall of Unbreakable Minds here with us, Unbreakable Minds Life Coaching, and Curtis E. Hall II from New Collar Solutions with us today.
Thank you.
So we're going to jump right into the conversation. But before we start, I want to let you know that we are currently live. That means right now. So you can call in and jump in on the conversation if you're watching on television, or if you are watching on Instagram, you can call in and partake in the conversation. The phone number is 804-646-7172. That's 804-646-7172. So let's get started with the conversation. First, we want to talk to Curtis, and he is the founder of New Collar Solutions. Can you share more about your background and your journey into coaching young men?
So thank you for having us on. So a little bit about my journey. It started in Philadelphia, in North Philadelphia, being raised by my mother and grandmother. So long story short, really didn't have a conversation and a relationship that I wanted with my father. So fast forward, I got a mentor at the age of 14, and that planted the seed in terms of me having that male presence. And so as I got older into college especially, I started working with other young men coming behind me. And so God just allowed it to take off from there, and it's my passion.
All right. Now, for those who are not familiar with New Collar Solutions, and we talked about your background and that it's male mentoring, give us a little bit more. What is New Collar Solution? What is the mission?
So New Collar Solution is to empower young men between the ages of 12 and 19 to show up their best selves on purpose. And what that looks like is intimate fellowship, the self-development, introspection, and also developing resolute confidence. And so we do this through interactive workshops and also one-on-one coaching as well. So yes.
All right, that sounds wonderful. Now, how do you use your personal experience as a father, a veteran, and an entrepreneur to shape your coaching approach?
That's a multifaceted question, so I'm going to do my best to address it. So I think one point that I connect with the young kings is that being raised in not a single parent home, but by women, that's one piece. And also being an officer in the Army allowed me to develop some empathy, because I came across a lot of different soldiers and I had to connect with them somehow. So I found that active listening and really invested in them is a way to build a healthy relationship. And so that's the crux of the connection that we have.
That sounds amazing. Now tell us about the King's Corner summer program and its goal for young men aged 13 through 18.
So King's Corner was birthed out of the idea of making sure that us as young men realize that we have intrinsic value, because oftentimes men's value is attached to what they can do or what they can bring to the table, unfortunately, whether it's provide, sexual, whatever, or just some notoriety. But we have value in and of ourselves because God created us a way. So what's your best part of yourself? How can you discover that? So we take that journey together collaboratively, and then the goal is to come out on the better side and have those expectations for yourself that you invest in yourself, because you don't need no validation. You validate yourself.
All right, that's excellent. Now, in what ways does the King's Corner summer program contribute to building a sense of community among the young men who participate?
So King's Corner is set in an intimate setting. I usually have no more between 5 and 10 young men. So that's meant to foster trust, and facilitate that rapport. And I have 8 pillars. A little of them I'll share with you is accountability, resourcefulness, irrational belief in self. And so through exercise and just overall development together, that's how we build that sense of community. But also we challenge ourselves as well. Like we have folks from different backgrounds in terms of sexuality and different family dynamics. So being embracing of that and building that community.
Okay, so thank you for telling us about the wonderful program that you have, King's Corner. That's just excellent, and I really appreciate what you're doing for the community, and I'm sure the viewers are interested and want to know more. We're going to move on to Miss Yolanda here. Now, what sets Unbreakable Mind Life Coaching apart in helping young people change their mindsets and live their best lives with purpose?
Yeah, well, you pretty much just said our mission, Naya. Our mission, and just to make that clear, is to help young people to shift their mindset, right? Because we know that mindset is the core of everything. It is based on your experiences, based on your family dynamics and all those different things. So we wanted to focus on mindset and introduce young people to the best versions of themselves, right?
Right.
And so then they can live their best life with purpose on purpose. And so what sets us apart is, number one, just having that awareness that it's the mindset that needs to be worked on first. When I first started coaching, it was like, okay, Unbreakable Minds Youth Life Coaching. We're going to be coaching youth on communication and, all those different kinds of things. But then as I started meeting with young people, I started realizing, oh, they believe they can't. Oh, they believe that this is not possible. Oh, it's the belief that's behind why they are not achieving what they want to achieve. And so once I was able to identify that, and I saw it consistently, I said, okay, we're going to focus on mindset. So just having that awareness, first of all, and then doing the work myself and knowing that it works, right? I got myself a coach, and then I realized the power of the transformation that was happening with coaching. And I realized that it was my mindset that was holding me back, and so we teach what we most need to learn. And so as I am working with young people, I am feeding myself as well. So it's just a win-win situation.
Yeah. So I am really impressed with your organization, and you not only coach the youth,
Right.
but you also coach parents and moms. I participated in an event. It was Unbreakable Moms, and so
Yes.
there were refreshments. We played a game
Yes.
where you couldn't say. Talk about your family, you couldn't talk about the kids. It was all about empowering moms.
Yes.
And then there was a wonderful event that just took place, and we saw that highlighted in the video,
Yes.
Parenting on Purpose.
Absolutely.
So we want to move on and we want to talk about that. What topics and things were covered in the three-part workshop series, Parenting on Purpose? We talked about some in the video. We talked about mindfulness. We talked about financial literacy. We talked about just offering parent insight
Right.
to different issues happening within the family dynamic. What are some other things? I know that there were two other sessions in addition to the one that was highlighted in the video. Can you talk about those?
Right. So we started out, Curtis and I started out with the vision of serving parents because we were offering programs to young people, and we were realizing that although we put a lot of time and energy and everybody said the programs was amazing and that they're needed in the community, the young people weren't showing up consistently. And so we were like, what could it be? It's free, we have great food, we're doing all these amazing things. And then we realized parents are overwhelmed. Parents are burned out, they're overwhelmed, and even though they want the best for their children, when they have to pick and choose, they have to prioritize what's right in the moment, right? And so at our kitchen table, which is where we do a lot of our mastermind, our thinking, we were like, you know what, we need to serve parents. And so a high school in Richmond reached out to us, and so we said, okay, we'll come and do it for your parents, but we still need to do it in the community as well. So it ended up being a 3-part series instead of a 2-part series. And the first session, Curtis and I facilitated. And we really wanted to connect with the parents, right? We sat down and we said, okay, we're going to share our story. What part of our story can we share just to let them know that we are human like you are, we are parents like you are, we have the same struggles and challenges that you do. And so, we wanted to tell our story. And so we picked a few stories that we could share and made some points out of those stories, just about communication and being on the same page. And even if we have different mindsets and different point of views that we come with, that we they're not wrong or right, but they're just different. And we have to find a way to come together and kind of land on the same page for the sake of the kids. So we talked about that on the first session. The second session, we had 2 amazing partners, Chelsea Young from Inspire Mentoring.
She just changed the name of it.
Right. So she talked about parenting roadblocks, and just kind of those things that just get in the way of parenting, and we feel like we don't have any control, but we have more control than we think. So she talked about that, and then we had Justin
Fitzgerald,
and he talked about
transparency. So we talked about generational trauma and how to avoid the pitfalls and passing on to your young kids, daughters, and sons.
Right.
So it was real good in terms of the heightened awareness, but also how to communicate that to where it's a partnership between the child and the parent to make sure they can work through that together.
And I wasn't there at that session. I was out of town, so I'm like, wanted to make sure Curtis gave the details. But then this one that you were present at last Saturday was an amazing event. It was for the community, and we had 4 amazing presenters. We had Alicia Randolph with Art of Me, RBA, and we had Jacqueline and Julius Edwards, and they just shared their parenting journey, and they talked about keep calm, right? You got this, right? And so we did some amazing activities, fun activities, got to move around and talk, and just connect with each other. And then we had, like you said, Brother AJ was there, and he talked about some financial literacy and just sharpening your saw as a parent so that you could be there for your kids. And John Taylor, and he is from the Inner Work Center, and he did an amazing mindfulness, conversation and practice with us. Just trying to provide some tools for the moms and dads so that they can leave and use them immediately. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And you can see how there's a need for this, and so many people coming together to provide this guidance to parents. It's just a wonderful thing, and thank you for having that available to the community. So one thing I wanted to ask, are there any plans to do this in the future?
Yes, so we have to shout out next up RVA, because them and the city of Richmond have provided these funds in the youth violence prevention, in the name of youth violence prevention. They provided these funds to make the events free to our community. And so we have applied for another grant, and so we do plan on doing at least one more event this school year. And then we also, again, that same high school has asked us to come back and do their parenting workshops, 4 of them throughout the year. So this is a journey we didn't know we were going to be on. It just kind of happened because we wanted to respond to the need. We wanted to find out what the problems were and try to, help parents solve problems. Instead of just trying to make up things we think the community needs, we wanted to ask and see what they needed, and then be able to help be a part of the solution.
Now, how do these workshops provide practical guidance for parents and guardians, navigating modern parenting challenges?
So with that said, it's all about communication is a pivotal point, making sure that the parents have an active ear to what their kids are experiencing. Because just take us, for example, we're Gen Xers. And so our kids, I don't even know what the generation is, but it seems like a vast disparity. So we got to be in tune in terms of what they're experiencing and have some empathy, some sympathy, but also help them be a resource for them to make their choices. And that opens the gateway to continue to have that dialogue so they can come to you. And then also you realize you have your awareness to it. So that's one key of it, and that's something we learned firsthand with our daughters as we look to merge our parenting styles.
Now, could you share some insight into the collaborative approach that led to the successful implementation of the Parenting on Purpose workshop series?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I told y'all the magic happens at the kitchen table. Right, and so as we're sitting at the table and we're thinking, what kind of message, from the feedback we've gotten from our parents, the individual coaching that we do, the groups that we run, the different programs that we run, when we are speaking with parents, what are the concerns that we're hearing? And they're concerned about mental health, about their children's mental health, about their mental health. They're concerned about social media. They're concerned about, the friends and the company that they keep. They're concerned about, all these different things. And so as we sat down and we thought about those things, we started thinking, who in the community do we know right now that's doing this work in the community, but also in their personal lives? Because we wanted people who could relate to our audience. We wanted people who could connect with our audience and would be transparent and share their story. So that collaboration came between him and I, first of all, because we're doing the same things. We have different businesses, but we are looking at kind of merging together in the near future. But we decided, who would be the best people to share this message. And so even though there were so many community partners that we could have chosen, we chose this dream team. And when we went to them before we even finished our sentences, they said yes, because of the connection and relationship that we had with them. and they know what our mission is and what we're doing in the community with young people, and wanted to help in any way that they could. So was very excited about those collaborations. Yeah.
All right, now what are some key takeaways that parents took away from the Parenting on Purpose workshops?
Mhm. So one of the biggest one, of course, is to take care of themselves, however that looks.
Yes.
I don't know, it was even some comedic moments about parents sharing, even if it's just in the bathroom,
Yes.
some moments of solace, but also continue to make sure that they have ways to express themselves and have that communication and dialogue. So those are two critical takeaways.
Yeah, and I would add with the mindfulness piece about being mindful and being present. A lot of times we are in our heads about things, and we are thinking about what has already occurred in the past or things that are coming up in the future, and we are missing the present, right? They say the present is a gift. And so just a reminder to be present, to be in your body. We even did a practice where we just sat and we looked out. There's a huge bay window, beautiful window in the room where we were.
Yes.
And he was like, just look out, what do you notice? And just think about sometimes when you're driving to work or you're driving across town and you get where you're going and you haven't seen anything. You missed the billboard, right? You missed all the flowers that are coming out of the tree. You missed all these things because you are in your head just thinking about what you did already and all the things you have to do. So that reminder just to be mindful with yourself and knowing what you and your body and your mind and your spirit needs, but then also to be present with your young people and to know what their mind, body, and spirit needs. And then, with Brother AJ, just one thing I remember is, stop saying I can't and start asking the question, how can I, right? Because anything that you put your mind to and you really, desire that you want to do, you can do, and so there's a such thing. I'll say this: if you believe you can or believe you can't, you're right. Right. So you can say, I can't do this, and you're absolutely correct if that's what you believe. But if you're saying, you know what, how can I make this happen? Then you're looking for solutions, and you're going to find whatever resources that you need in order to make that thing happen. Right. And so that was a reminder for me as well. So it was just an awesome event. Yeah.
It was an awesome event. And I'm glad that you're going to be doing something in the future, because if you're out there, Parenting on Purpose will be coming soon again. So stay tuned. Right now, we can take a moment for a brief commercial so that they can give you some information on how to stay connected with Unbreakable Minds and also New Collar Solutions. Yolanda, can you give your Instagram information and your contact information?
Yes.
You can look at that camera right there.
Okay, so Unbreakable Mind Coaching, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Unbreakable Minds Coaching. That's Unbreakable Minds with an S, coaching. And my email is coaching@unbreakableminds.org. And you can contact us by phone at 804-495-1282.
All right, and now for a brief message from Mr. Curtis E. Hall II.
Thank you. So yes, you can find me at New Collar Solutions on all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, as well as LinkedIn. My phone number is 804-404-6650. Email curtis.e.hall@newcollarllc.com. 24 to 48 hours of response. Look forward to connecting, Queens and Kings.
Yes, and also let me remind everyone that we are live. So if you want to participate in the conversation, you can give us a call at 804-646-7172. That's 804-646-7172. We are live on Comcast Channel 95, Verizon Channel 36, and we are streaming live on Instagram. So again, if you want to participate in the conversation, 804-646-7172. Hello, this is Naya Royal with Around Richmond.
Yes, it's a very interesting conversation. How do you handle the absentee father syndrome? It totally has almost destroyed the family structure. It's messing with our young ladies and our young men because they have no role models to emulate. So, once they're finished with the excellent counseling, then they go home to a mother who may have to work 14 to 16 hours a day. There's no father present, or if the father is present, he doesn't know anything about parenting. So, does that kind of negate, or how do you deal with that? It's such a prevalent phenomena in the community, absentee fathers, and they're either mentally or physically absent, or another scenario is they can be abusive because they had no role model. So how do you deal with that, number one? And number two, is there a cost to participate?
So thank you so much for your question, and I will start with that because when we provide coaching for the young people, we recognize that it takes a village, and we recognize, I used to be a school counselor, and I would counsel the kids in the school and then send them home, like you're saying, and couldn't really have that impact. But through coaching, when we're coaching the child, we have meetings with the parents regularly. We send them updates, and we talk to parents about building their circle of support, right? We can't control what we can't control, right? And I try to, because I do train in childhood trauma and how trauma impacts the individual and the family. And a lot of times when dads are absent or moms are absent or whoever's absent, it's because they're having a hard time coping with their own situation, right? And so sometimes their stress response is to withdraw, is to flee, right? And so, it's not about what's wrong with you, what's wrong with him. He's supposed to be, it's what happened to you. So when we change our mindset, once again, to think about, okay, this person is going through some stuff, they can't be a full, show up as a dad right now, but how can I still get what I need for my child? And that's where the village comes in. And I honestly think that, to sit down with a parent and say, okay, dad is absent right now, we're going to pray for him, or we're going to, send positive vibes. We're not going to speak negatively to the child about him, but we want to build a circle around our child with whoever is willing and able to support us as a family. Your family, you may want your family to be the traditional way and everybody to show up 100%, but that's not always the case. And so as parents, we have to go out and find people to fill those voids, to fill those spaces, and make sure the child has what they need. And then, we can have a conversation with the dad. But if he's not willing and not able at the time, we still have to make sure that we are getting what the child needs. And we will do that by any means necessary. And so I'll let Curtis add on to that as a male and a father.
So yeah, just to build on that, being intentional about who's in your life and realizing it may not look how you think it may look. And so I use myself as an example. I always longed for my father to be there, intimate in terms of being a father, a role model, but that didn't happen. So I had other men that stepped in, Carlos Bradley, Victor Harmon, and then Brandon Wilson. These are men that have been in my life or are in my life and that showed up. So we have to make sure we equip the women that I'm blessed to work with. When they show up, how they serving you and your son or your sons, that and be cognizant of who they're having a positive response to and from, and make sure you allow more of that as you observe that behavior. Mm-hmm. We hope that helped. Did that help, ma'am?
It helps quite a bit, and I commend you, because so much work needs to be done, and I'm sure as you grow in what you do, the village will grow with you. Yes. So our young men just have the anger issues. They want to feel significant, and the only way that they can is to emulate what they call hardcore behavior, and it's misplaced and it's counterproductive. So the fact that you're doing this, you're on to something, and I wish you all the best as you go. I've seen it, I've experienced it, I know what you're talking about, and I think the fact that you also experienced it and you had to reach outside of your biological network, that it gives you that relevance to those other young people, young men, and whomever. So thank you so much for what you do, and I appreciate it, and thank you for the conversation.
Thank you so
ma'am.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're going to continue with the conversation. That was a great call. And yes, thank you again for all you do. So we are impacting the city of Richmond. If you want to participate in the conversation, again, the phone number is 804-646-7172, 804-646-7172. On Instagram, you can also call in. You can also call in on Instagram. That phone number is 804-646-7172, 804-646-7172. If you want to talk to Unbreakable Minds Life Coaching or Curtis E. Hall II, Blue Collar Solutions, you can call in. Tell them what a great job they're doing. Call in and be a part of the conversation. Okay, we'll continue moving on with the conversation. All right. Hello, you're on with Around Richmond.
Hello, I'm trying to mute my phone, my TV.
They must be watching the show.
You hear me?
Yes.
All right. So, hello, yes, great job. I agree with the caller who called in earlier. Great job. We definitely need as much help out in the community, especially with our youth, as possible. I have a question about social media. I mean, I am also a Generation Xer and have a really difficult time understanding the millennials and even a bigger, more difficulty understanding Generation Z. But social media is out there, it influences our children, and I just wanted to know how you both combat, these visions and ideas that social media puts forth as far as what is beautiful, what is value, and at the same time utilize social media because that's what the kids nowadays and our young people kind of idolize, and that's how they communicate. So it's kind of twofold. We got to kind of combat it and support it at the same time in order to reach our youth. So I'm just wondering how you all are able to do that.
Well, caller, I'm glad you brought that up because at their Parenting on Purpose workshop, this was an issue that a lot of parents had as well. So I'm going to let Miss Yolanda start by. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, they already worked it out. See, that's what happens when you have a husband and wife. Yeah, they work it out.
So
Okay.
thank you for calling in, ma'am. So one thing we do with the young men, and we share is what's called your digital footprint, because that's what it is. So as we're working in our modules and our sessions, and I give you an example, I've been blessed to serve at Fairfield Middle School. This is something we honed in on. How do you want yourself to be projected out? How are you building your crown? What do you want to be known for? Because once we put it out there, it's permanent. Regardless of what they tell you, whatever you put out in the universe is there forever. So do you want that on your track record? Well, how do you want to invest in yourself? And going to what you said, how do you leverage it? Project what you want to become. Because that's your reality. Whatever your belief system construct is, that's how you leverage it. Because you can't just think about now, it has to go into posterity. And truly, what you do can hurt you now based on the choices you make. So realize that your print will be on that regardless of whether it's a positive light or negative light, but make the prudent choice to be positive in terms of being a steward of your social media platforms. I want to do that.
I'll add to what we do as parents. So we have two girls, they're 12 and 14, and of course coming into middle school, everybody's on social media, they're asking to be on social media. So we made sure that we all had iPhones because we know that iPhones, you can be a family, and I know everybody's situation can't be like this, but we were intentional about, we don't want them sneaking.
Right.
So we want to show that we're interested in what they're interested in, right? So it's like, Curtis is on TikTok more than I am, but we are connected with them, and so we can see what they post on their account. And we just have conversations about it. We send each other TikToks, so we try to model how we communicate with them on social media for how they should be communicating with their friends on social media. We're like in the mix. And I'm like, they send me messages. I'm like, oh Lord, I gotta be intentional and get on and watch the message and make a comment. You know, even though because TikTok will pull me in and I'll probably never get out. So I try to stay off of it. But at least one of us are there. Now they're saying, oh, can we get on Instagram? And mommy, you can, you know. And so any social media who has the opportunity for parents to monitor the account, you know, I would say if your child gets on, then you get on as well, and that y'all are connected, and that you communicate with them, that you comment on their post, that they know that you're watching, you know what I'm saying, and just kind of, you know, not make it something that is a negative thing, because they learn so many skills being able to work that social media, like you said, Miss, you know, it's like you want to combat it at the same time, and the problems and the image issues that a lot of people have, but then at the same time, you know that it's a part of technology, and to keep them moving forward with everybody else, you know, you don't want them left behind. Right now, at my job, I manage my social media account, so I need that skill, and they're going to need those skills.
Right.
So my biggest thing is let it be a family thing, and y'all have conversations about it, because a lot of times they come to us and they ask us about things that they've seen on social media. You know, even my youngest daughter, she sees a lot of spiritual things on there, you know, about Christians, and, you know, if you believe in God, you're going to pass this. And she sent me something one time, and I said, did it say that if you love God, you have to send this? You know, and she said yes. And so that opened up a conversation for us to have, you know, about social media and how much to take it seriously and how much not to. But I'm glad she was watching. It was a nice video, you know.
Yeah, and my daughter does the same thing.
Yeah.
So my daughter sent me something spiritual. Because like you say, you have that open communication where they feel comfortable, you know, sharing these things with you. So she shared something about that was spiritual, but it's from TikTok, you know. And so you have false prophets. And so, like you said, it opens up the conversation. So you can have that conversation. Or there a lot of times there are news stories that aren't true. This is not true. Okay, you got to fact check. Okay, just do a simple Google search. That's not true, you know. And so by telling them that and having those conversations, they know, you know, we can consume this information or take in this information, but we don't have to take everything as true, you know, and it's just entertainment a lot of times.
And you have to be able to discern the difference between what is true and what is not, and get your own facts, like you said. And if you can't find the answer, then come to us, you know. And sometimes I don't always agree with the language, I don't always agree with what I see, but the fact that they're bringing it to us and we're talking about it, you know, like I said, you can't protect them from it completely. So I'm glad that we're able to have those conversations and kind of help them to be able to navigate through the good and the bad and what's right and wrong and discernment and all that good stuff.
And so caller, the next Parenting on Purpose.
Connect with us.
Yes, connect with them. They will be giving their information again. We are looking forward to another Parenting on Purpose workshop where we have these engaging conversations. Thanks so much for your call.
Thank you so much. All right. Good night.
Good night. Take care.
Can I put a plug in for Unbreakable Moms?
Yes.
Yeah. So before we started Parenting on Purpose, I was communicating mostly with moms, and me working with mostly females. I was like, I need to do something for moms. And so we started Unbreakable Moms group, right? We have a chat group, and we put in information. Sometimes it's just encouraging, empowering. Sometimes it's like, we're having an event, please come, you know. One of our moms, her mom passed away recently, and so we were able to show her some love in the chat. But we said, let's start having events. So we had Mom's Night Out, right? Because moms, I mean, all moms and dads, you know, I'm gonna leave y'all out, but you know, sometimes you just need a night out where we're not necessarily talking about the kids, but recognizing that that self-care for yourself as a parent impacts self-care for your entire family. Your kids are always watching. Right, and so we started Unbreakable Moms Night Out, and the first night we went to a winery, right? Those who drank, those who didn't, but it was the fellowship, right? It was us coming together and just connecting. And then what you were referring to was Unbreakable Moms Night Out, Game Night Edition. And we had so much fun. And we did, like, when you go to a baby shower and you get the clothes clips, and it's like, if you say anything about your kids, I'm taking your clothes, your clip. And then whoever had the most clips at the end won the prize. But just being able to have those nights out. Shout out to Tyson at Nurturing Minds. We had it at her place, and she texted me not long ago. She was like, "Mom's night out is needed, caps and all caps." So we're planning another one for September. So please connect with us, and so that when these events come, you will know. We always put things on social media, and so that y'all could, connect with us and come out.
And I can say that Mom's Night Out was a great success. I actually attended one of those, and it was so much fun to just unwind. And we had a team building event, so we didn't know each other when we came to the event, but by the end we were laughing, we were talking. It's just a nice social event. It's just like a nice time to just unwind and just be with other moms, and be an adult for a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
And we actually were trying to be kids for a minute.
Yeah, we're kids for a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
Tap into our inner child. So that was awesome.
Yeah, with other adults.
Right.
Yes, it's a great event. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Definitely more coming about Unbreakable Moms.
Yes. All right, getting back to parenting on purpose, we want to wrap that up. Talk about the City of Richmond.
Okay.
How did the City of Richmond and Up Next RVA's funding impact the availability of parenting on purpose workshops to schools and families?
Right. So, like we said, with the amount of young people who are losing their lives in the City of Richmond, a lot of city leaders, county leaders have come together to figure out what is it that we can do. And so the City of Richmond granted, I believe it was like $500,000 per grant season to local organizations who are providing services for youth. And you had to apply for the grant. And someone encouraged us to apply because, grants can be intimidating. And so they were like, no, Next Up makes it, they work with you, you can ask questions, all this other stuff. So we were like, okay, let's do it. And so we did that. And my first event was Mother-Daughter Circle. So that's a whole other thing that we could talk about. But we did that, and that came through, and then Curtis applied for King's Corner. And we were like, okay, this is good. And so when we realized we wanted to do the work for the parents, we figured, let's go to Next Up first. So since their grant season was opening again, we said, let's go ahead and apply. We wanted to do, like we said, a 2-part series that ended up being a 3-part series. But they made it possible. They made it possible for us to have a great lunch. We didn't talk about the food, but we had a spread, right?
Yeah.
We had really good food at all 3 events. And we were able to, get speakers to come out and bless them for their time. We were able to get resources and, just really go with the parents in mind and what would make this a great event for them. So they allowed us to remove a lot of barriers we would have had of maybe having to raise the money or to, go into whatever other fund to be able to fund the event or have to charge, so we were able to do that. So we are for-profit organizations, but at any opportunity we have to be able to provide things for free, we do it. We do it. So they were very instrumental.
Now, I know we've been talking a lot about parenting on purpose, but you guys do a lot of other things as well. Can you elaborate on some of the programs or the life coaching programs that Unbreakable Minds and New Collar Solutions has to offer?
So I started. So we also partner on the Youth Wellness Expo. We had our first one this past spring around the second market period at the Teen Center out in the East End, Rockford Creighton Court, and we had some wonderful partners there talking about etiquette as well as hygiene, and also my wife, she was a part of the panel as well, and talking about parental and kids communication relationship and emotional development. And that's coming again this spring as well.
Yeah, so for Unbreakable Minds, like I said, we started out just to do individual one-on-one coaching because I know that young people needed that one-on-one support.
Right.
Another adult in the circle that was probably saying the same thing that their parents are saying, but they receive it a little bit different from somebody else. We create that safe space to allow that transformation to happen. But we also do groups because I do come from a school counselor background, and so I always believe in the power of groups. And so and not counseling groups, but coaching groups, you know, and something empowering about being coached, especially as a young person. I know some of my clients see it as a badge of honor, like I gotta meet with my coach, you know, and so I just love that. I love that they recognize the power that they're given to help themselves,
Yes.
right? To be in the forefront, and I'm just guiding them from the background. So individual coaching, small group coaching, we've done a mother-daughter circle, we've done 2 of them. And that was with girls, middle and high school, and their moms to come together and just, you know, share storytelling and, you know, mom sharing about what it means to be female, and just like their life maps that they've experiences they've had together along the way, and just really creating that safe space for mothers and daughters to bond, because we recognize that the violence that's taking place in the city, that if home is not the safest place to be, then the kids are going to go somewhere else. And if they're somewhere else, then they can be caught up in some other things. So I really thought it was important to do the mother-daughter circle, and so that was amazing. And we partnered with the Teen Center, the Boys and Girls Teen Center as well in East Lawn. And then Unbreakable Moms Night Out, and then now Parenting on Purpose. And we also do training for youth serving organizations. So whether it be, like I said earlier, childhood trauma, creating safe spaces, mindfulness, you know, any of those kinds of things, we work with people who are serving youth to give it, being trauma informed, you know, just to add to their skill set, to add value to what they're already doing with the young people they serve.
Okay. Now, can you share some success stories or positive outcomes resulting from, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, let me get back to this. Can you share some success stories or positive outcomes resulting from Unbreakable Minds and New College Solutions coaching programs?
That was nice talking to you.
Oh yeah, that's good.
You want to take a call first?
Yes, we're gonna take the call
Okay.
first. Hi, yes, you're on with Around Richmond.
Hi, yes, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for the show. It has been so great. And I wanted to say hi to Coach Yolanda.
Hey, I recognize that voice. Hey.
Yes, and I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you do. My daughter, Zaria, is her mentor. Zaria wanted to call in and say hi. Hi.
Hey, Zaria. Yes, I hate to say favorites, but you know, you just gotta. And you know, I've been working with Zaria for over 2 years now, and just the transformation that I've seen in that young lady, and I'm not going to talk too long because I'm going to get emotional. But yeah, she's going to college, and I'm just very proud. I'm very proud of her. She was my very first client. Her mom believed it. Don't get me started. But thank you, y'all. They have been amazing.
Yes. Yes, and
Yeah.
Coach Yolanda, she's an excellent life coach, so definitely, if you want true transformation, definitely get some coaching from Coach Yolanda. Thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you so much, Sakita and Zaria. I appreciate y'all so much.
Thanks so much.
Lord. They got me.
Oh, yeah, so that was perfect. The question I was stumbling over, you know, the caller kind of provided a real life testimonial on, you know, the differences that you're making in young people's lives. So that was wonderful to receive that call. So do you have any experiences or?
I got one gentleman, I don't want to say his name, but he graduated from high school and he has a bit of an intellectual challenge, but he's awesome. And he worked through it, now he's at Brightpoint, taking up actually something with the internet, but he's doing real good. So yeah, he came through a lot of anger issues. So yeah.
Okay, so you guys are just definitely making big difference in the community, you know, and look how God works, you know, you put it out there and it's just overflow.
Yes.
So we are very excited about your programs and what you're doing for the community, and we're going to move on to some more questions. How do you leverage your roles as husband and wife, or as a husband and wife duo, to enhance the effectiveness of your coaching programs?
So I think the kitchen table again is a big part of it. Also dialogue with our daughters. And being cognizant, we do a lot of observing of our peers because there's some awesome community partners out here that we learn from as well. And so we have what I would call informal best practice and sharing summits. We're like, what's working? What are you seeing out here with the youth? What are they encountering? And that's a way to stay in tune in terms of making sure we got that feedback to make sure we can enhance our services, to make sure we're in one accord and lockstep with the community we're serving.
And I would add, Curtis referred to some of the external impacts, but I would talk about the internal at that kitchen table, and even sometimes, pillow talk we end up talking about our triggers, something that triggered us that because we do this work now and we are working with young people and parents, we are constantly observing and making sure we have the awareness of ourselves, because we're on a journey with all of you, all of them. We're just a few steps ahead of you, and you don't want to learn from or be impacted by someone who just read the book but haven't lived the life and walked the walk. You want somebody who has gone through and found their way out, found a way to cope, found hope, found different strategies and tools and people and relationships that have helped them to be able to continue on, to be able to change that mindset. And so we have conversations about how we are changing. We have conversations about how our roles as parents are changing. Curtis was more a disciplinarian when the girls were smaller, and I was like, why are you so hard on them? They're little girls, but he's thinking about how he was raised, and I'm thinking about the fact that, I grew up and I didn't have a father in the home because my father passed away when I was 2 months old. And so I'm looking at their relationship to be different. Now the girls are older and I'm turning into more of the disciplinarian and he's turning into, the cuddly, fuzzy, friendly daddy, and they're hugging and laughing and all this other stuff, and I'm like, we gotta get stuff done. So just being able to recognize that and see the shift, because our job is to provide them what they need and send them on their way, right? To create the space, to create the environment, to nurture them, and for us to watch them to see what they need and not to think what we think they need and provide that. They're two different, right? Two different personalities. Their interests are different. And they argue a little bit, but they get along too. So just kind of playing off of that, we kind of talk about it so we are all one accord. They ask daddy one time and then they come to me, they try to play that game, but they know we're not down with that because they know we talk a lot, So I would just say that we are constantly doing the work and we're constantly evolving, and we try to be as transparent as we can, especially when it comes to parenting, so that it makes it easy to connect with us. And people know that this is from the heart because we consider this hard work. If we could do it for free, we would. And when we can, we will.
So what plans do Unbreakable Minds and New Collar Solutions have for expanding their reach and impact in the future?
I can start by saying we offer our services virtually, and the pandemic has taught us so much about expanding your reach, right? And so I have clients who I have not seen in person at all, and all of this transformation is taking place. Even a safe space can be created online. And when you're ready for transformation and you come wanting help, it can take place online. So that cue is right. Oh, what's coming up for us, right?
Oh, yes.
So we are coming together. Like we work separately, but we're doing the same thing. And so now we're merging because we want to work smarter and not harder. And we're looking forward to building a team. I have an virtual assistant that's been helping out, but we're like, we need a team. And then we also need people to help us facilitate our programs as well. So we will be growing our team. We will be merging in the new year. And we're going to continue these programs and just expand on them in the city of Richmond, Chesterfield, Henrico, as well as whatever we can do virtually.
So continue to expand, but I just want to share if I do one-on-one coaching as well, and it's not mentioned, but I do work with men, done a lot of stuff with men, but behind the scenes with other community giants. Had the privilege of doing the King's Legacy last year, so looking to do things like that, but looking to connect, and we're going to continue to build our team like our wife said.
Okay, now we have probably a minute or so, so we want to just give your information again. If you could just look at that camera again and give your information for Unbreakable Minds and New Collar Solutions.
Yes, well, thank you all again for tuning in. I'm Yolanda Hall, the owner and founder of Unbreakable Minds Coaching. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Unbreakable Minds Coaching. I'm also on TikTok at Unbreakable Teens, but I'm kind of in and out there. My email is coaching@unbreakableminds.org, and my phone number is 804-495-1282. It doesn't cost a thing to have a conversation, so please connect with me.
Unbreakable Minds, Unbreakable Minds, New Collar Solutions on all platforms, and 804-404-6650, curtis.e.hall, newcollarllc.com. Thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
Yes, so thank you, Yolanda Hall, Unbreakable Minds Life Coaching, and Curtis E. Hall, the second, New Collar Solutions. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for watching Around Richmond. I'm Naya Royal. See you later.
Yay!
Thank you.
Thank you,
It's a wrap.
Instagram, for joining in.
You're so fun.
Yay! That was great.